Welcome to this new episode of Split the Difference. I'm your host, Jesse. Today we have Hope from Mind Bright Movies.
How's it going on this? Well, we're feeling the western heat,
Oh,
over
it's
here
105
still.
degrees. It's 105 degrees in Maryland. It sucks. Oh, it's awful.
Even though we're on the East Coast, but we're feeling the western heat.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse from here, folks. So speaking of heat, we're going to do some westerns today. We were going to do Bangkok Dangerous. That was the one that was on the docket. I said we were going to do that the last time. We couldn't find the original film anywhere. It is not streaming or available anywhere. So unless you have a hard copy or a random torrent somewhere, we couldn't find it. The best I could find was a Russian dubbed version with no subtitles. And I was like, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah,
So,
I can't do that.
no, so sorry about the change up, folks. So no Bangkok Dangerous, no Nick Cage movie this season, unfortunately. So we're going to talk about The Magnificent Seven, the original film from 1960, directed by John Sturges, versus the 2016 remake, directed by Antoine Fuqua. And the original film is in itself a remake of Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. So the remake of this is a remake of a remake.
Yay.
It's a big rabbit hole we're going to go down because I actually quite like both these movies, actually.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I was pleasantly surprised by the remake. I went into
It's
it
really
being
good.
like, but I was like, okay.
Yeah, because when I heard that Chris Pratt was in the movie, I was like, ugh.
Well, this was at the time of like,
Guardians. Guardians was out. He
this
wasn't a
was
dick.
this was like post Parks and Rec,
Mhm.
mid Guardians, but pre current. So
Yeah,
like it was like that perfect time for him.
that sweet spot. It's
It was
like he's
that
not an
sweet spot.
asshole yet. He's not an asshole. He's still pretty good.
This is Lego Movie Emmett era.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. All right, so let's start out the original film. So, if you haven't seen this, why haven't you? I genuinely think this is probably one of the top 10 westerns ever made. It's genuinely great. This director, John Sturges, also went off and did The Great Escape, which is also a film I would highly encourage people to watch, even though it's like 4 hours long.
Yeah.
I don't think that one needs to be 4 hours. I think that one can be trimmed up just a little bit. But this original film, God, I had not watched this in probably 15 years. It's genuinely great film. It's in the National Film Institutes for culturally important films. Also, the score by Elmer Bernstein is critically recognized. It was nominated for Best Original Score. It did not win, but it is still in the National Film Registry for being culturally significant. So, Hope, had you seen this original film?
I haven't seen either.
Oh, you hadn't seen either.
But until we recorded for this. Again, I will go down. I'm not the biggest Western fan.
It's not really your genre.
Do I appreciate them? Yes. Do I know what significance they hold? Yes. Do I I'm not like shaming Westerns whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's just when I sit down and watch them, I do enjoy them.
Mhm.
But it's not something I go out of my way for.
Yeah.
That's just me. Again, like when I sat down and watched these, I enjoyed them. I'm not gonna lie, I did enjoy them. It's not something I normally put on.
Yeah. You got to kind of be in a mood for westerns these days. It also depends on what kind of western you're going for. If you're going for like, I would call this sort of a spaghetti western. This one's hard to kind of quantify because there's
Ish.
the Italian spaghetti westerns, which are very over the top and very they're violent, yes, but they're like the violence is like, oh, somebody grabs their chest and falls over. If you want to hear a good joke about that, go watch there's a Patton Oswalt joke about trying to get his wife to watch Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and she was horrified by it. But then
But
she
then
goes home
she'll
and
binge watch serial killer documentaries to go to
yeah,
sleep.
it's like
Yeah.
yeah, the amount of semen found within the chest cavity. It's like Jesus Christ, honey, I'm coming home with Thai food. But then you also have like realistic westerns, like films like What's the one? What's the one with Clint? Unforgiven.
I was just about to say, are you talking about Unforgiven?
Why I don't know why that slipped my mind for a second, but yeah, Unforgiven, the realistic Western, what it's really like, the pain and tragedy of living out in the West.
I was
This
gonna say
is
that's the one I've actually seen. The one of the
yeah,
westerns I've actually seen is Unforgiven.
yeah. There's others as well, like Tombstone is another good one. Definitely dramatized of that historical event. Uh, But in terms of this Western, this falls into more of like kind of simplistic spaghetti westerns, very traditional, very simple American, I guess you could say. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, the sets look like sets. The locations they're amazing. But I will say it there's things that haven't aged great.
It
It's
yeah,
1960. I can let some stuff slide.
that's the only thing you can say is it's 1960.
Yeah,
And when
yeah,
they filmed this, it was probably, like, 54, or
yeah.
55, 56. So, like, in the 50s, they were recording this.
Well, at this time, they shot westerns super fast. Like
Well,
they would just
true.
they would film them so fast. It's
There's a
like
difference between filming and then releasing, is what I'm saying.
yeah. Well, in terms of like filming, like the when Hollywood studios would actually catch like wind of like, oh, this is the big thing, everybody wants this, they would just like take any script they could and just film it super quick and get it out on the market. It's kind
Mm,
of like what's happened in the last 20 years with superhero movies. Like, oh, just any script, take it, shoot it, and get it out there on the
right.
market. Although westerns didn't cost like the same amount it would take to rebuild a third world nation, which is why we're in the massive economic glut we are with the industry now. So superhero movies aren't westerns,
Yay.
guys. They're not the same.
Yay.
It's not the same. Um, but in terms of this film, I totally forgot how awesome the cast is in this movie.
Oh, it's star-studded
Yeah,
A-list, like, you
your
have
buddy Charles
no idea.
Bronson's here. Here he is. Before he looked like he, aged 30 years doing the Death Wish movies.
Dude,
Jesus.
I loved his character in this. I love Bernardo's character, but I'm also a Charles Bronson fan. Like I loved him in Dirty Dozen.
Oh
I
yeah, yeah.
love him in this. The classic roles he plays. Like I'm a fan.
Mhm. Yeah, it feels like these are all genuinely well-rounded characters. Like, and it is a time when westerns were all about like honor and duty. It's like military films were the same way. It's like, charging into battle to fight the enemy, to
Mhm.
fight the good fight for the American way. That's one thing that doesn't age well, I think, in modern day. It doesn't quite land appropriately. But at the time, like, I get it. I totally get it. And then the plots of these are generally the same, but there's enough differences where I can say, okay, the remake can stand on its own.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, this is not a clone. I promise
I
it's not a
know,
clone.
thankfully.
Thank God. I'm not gonna do like we did last time. Jesus
If
Christ.
nothing else, it's not a clone for the fact that there's people of color in the remake.
That's true. That's the other thing is that I do
There
think
or
that's
there's, like it's not all whitewashed. We have, you
yeah,
know, real Hispanics, we have Denzel, we have, like, real we have real Asian actors, like, we have real like,
yeah,
it's not like,
yeah,
"Oh, let me just slap some" like, oh.
yeah. The Native American shows up in that one and joins the crew. It's like it feels like a more diverse cast. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Like I said, if nothing else, that's what makes it stand off on its own, is the diversity of the cast.
yeah, yeah. And actually, if you actually think about it, in the remake, the diverse characters, they're the ones that actually survive. The white guys are all the ones that die. Denzel, the Native American, and the Mexican.
Yeah. Mhm.
I just realized that. So, but anyways, we're not there yet. So yeah, the original film. uh, If there was any negative I could lob at the original, it's the sequence where they go back to the village and it turns out the village has been taken over. And Eli Wallach, who I absolutely love, may he rest in peace, he lets them leave town. And then once they're gone, he gives them back their guns.
I
Why?
I don't know.
Because the movie needs to end.
Yeah, I was a bit confused at that part,
Hmm.
but I was just like, "Let's just go."
Yeah. it's that's the one part of the movie I'm like, you didn't need to do that. You could have either killed them or just let them leave and not have their guns back. You could have. I guess they were trying to create the honorable villain. I guess they were trying to
I
do.
guess so. Just like you
Doesn't
were saying before, it's all about, like, honor and law, back in those films, so I guess even, like even the villains had honor. Well, it kind of makes me think of, like, 310 to Yuma, like, even the villain had, like, his code.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. So I guess that's what they were trying to go
Another
for
Western
is
you made me watch.
did you complain? You liked it.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying you made me watch
Okay.
it.
It's last season, so we had to get another Western in there. Yeah, I do think that the original has that one big glaring flaw is that part. Yeah. In terms of the way in which they get the cast of characters together, do you think which one do you think is a little more successful in terms of like building the team, the original or the remake?
I think the original was better at building the team. Um, it seemed like the
More
remake
natural.
yeah, the remake was, like, a bit rushed because they wanted to
Mm,
focus more on, like, everything else happening, whereas the big portion of the original was building the team.
yeah.
Um, it's you're gonna hate me, but the best way I can compare it is, like, the original was, like, how Marvel did the individual movies
Hmm.
and then did the Avengers, whereas the remake was more like Justice League where they slapped them all together and was like, "Okay, go."
I think the main issue with the remake is that to jump into that one for a bit, there's a lot of happenstance in the remake. Like the Native American just kind of shows up and doesn't
Right.
leave. It's like,
And the Mexican was just, like, randomly hired, like
yeah, I'll tear up this warrant notice on you if you join my team. And then the guy just doesn't. He's got Denzel Washington at a at gunpoint. He's like he could just shoot them.
mhm.
There is nothing that says he can't do that. But because the movie needs to
Movie
happen,
yeah. So
we're
that was
yeah,
just, like, a little but yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think that the idea of fighting for honor in a modern interpretation of westerns
Mhm.
doesn't quite land these days. Maybe we're all just that cynical. Maybe we are just that cynical at this point, or the real life stories of the West is not as not as glorified as you'd say. Like the other big negative I give is when they did the Western draw in the remake, and like that shit never happened. That is movie shit. That never happens. Nobody ever did that. That's a thing for movies, and right wing chuckle fucks love to copy it. It is not a thing that ever happened. It is not real. Because typically when people do that, they always miss. They almost always miss. Yeah. So of
So, of course, the guy with the knife is gonna be more accurate than the pistol, like,
course,
that's the one thing I will say, like, when someone was labeled a sharpshooter back then,
yeah,
like, goddamn, I give them more credit than a sharpshooter today
yeah,
because, like, you have to be accurate with something that has no accuracy whatsoever,
yeah.
and, like, it's literally like saying, um it would be like, "Alright, well, my, target is at 12 o'clock. Let me aim at 9 and maybe I'll hit it." Like
You got to account for the parabolic trajectory of the bullet. You have to account for wind resistance. It's a whole thing.
and each of those, there was no machine. It was all made by hand, so not as no gun was made the same either.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, it might have had the same design, but it was not the same. It's not like now where you could be like, "Oh, well, there's 100 of these same ones, blah," It's like each one
hmm,
has its own, like, specific little quirk to it that you would have to learn.
hmm, yeah. Speaking of quirks, the one thing I also love in the original is that theme song, that the Elmer Bernstein score. I love the score of the original film. It's fantastic. It's because that's a theme I hear repeated almost everywhere. I don't know why I keep hearing that theme
It's a
all over the place.
classic.
It's a classic, but I hear it a lot. Like in various other films, they'll use samples of it. It's
Mhm.
so strange to just hear it in various places. Yeah, I'm looking at this right now. God, yeah, it was yeah, it was a lot of this was reused actually for the sequels. Apparently there's 3 sequels to this original film, which I didn't even know existed.
I had no idea either. That's, news to me.
Yeah, most of it's new cast members. By the time you get to the last one, I think which is Return of the Seven, I think that's what it was called, or the or the Magnificent Seven Ride Again, or something like that. It's Lee Van Cleef from the Good, Bad, and the Ugly. He comes in as the lead character.
I was gonna say, like, they half of them died. How do
I
you have a
know.
Magnificent 7 when half of them died?
Yeah, I don't understand how you can do sequels to a story where almost all the characters are dead. I don't know why you can call it that. I don't know. But anyways, um, yeah, original film. It's phenomenal. It's in terms of the influence this had. Like the seven moniker has been copied and pasted almost everywhere. There was a sci-fi adaptation of this called Battle Beyond the Stars, which is a Roger Corman film, which I've seen it, and also Charles Bronson actually makes an appearance in that film as well. They're playing the same character. It's kind of funny. Uh, but it is a Roger Corman movie, so there's no budget to it. But yeah, the original film, it's fantastic. It did when it got to the ending and you saw how it all plays out, did you think that everybody's fate was deserved, or do you think that there was very brutal, undeserved deaths at the end of this film?
For which one?
For the original film.
Uh, honestly, I feel like it was accurate, you know? Um,
Hmm.
again, I hated when Bernardo died. I did because
Yeah.
he bonded with the kids. And I'm
Hmm.
like, "Oh." Although it was kinda like they foreshadowed it though. They're like, "Oh, we're the ones who said we'll plant flowers at your grave." And I'm like, "That's nice."
Yeah,
Kids
foreshadowing.
kids say the darndest things.
The- God. Yeah, the leading up to that ending, I do think that because the original film was all about honor and duty and such, it does feel like all those deaths are appropriate, with the exception of the one guy that leaves and then comes back and just immediately gets gunned down. He made the wrong choice. Just he comes back and basically changes nothing in the fight and just immediately goes down. Um, the
Mm,
one other negative I'd give the original film. You know how there's that epic shot in the Seven Samurai where all seven are in the same frame, and Toshiro
mhm.
Mifune's at the front of the crew? We never got that in this original film. We never had a shot. I mean, we had one that's like everybody's on horseback crossing a river. We never had like the group shot,
I'm
which is kind
wondering
of
if it
irritating
was
to me.
I'm wondering if it was just because, like, they didn't wanna
Copy
direct
it too much.
copy, yeah. Like, they were already basically copy and pasting. They didn't wanna do too much.
That's fair. That's fair.
Because that was, like, the trademark, you know? So
Yeah.
they didn't wanna that's my
Yeah.
guess. That's my guess.
I don't know. Yeah. I do appreciate the fact they did not copy all of Seven Samurai entirely because that film is about 3.5 hours long. That's a big negative I give that film is that it's too goddamn long. It's so long, and a lot of that can be cut. Um, but yeah, this original film, it's damn near a masterpiece. It's got some flaws. Definitely hasn't aged well in some places, but it's genuinely amazing. Uh, the remake, I had never seen it. I knew of it, and I knew it was Antoine Fuqua, who I generally like as a filmmaker. I've always found his films to have kind of like a mean spirited tone to them. This one it does at times have a mean spirited tone, but it's appropriate because it's a much more realistic version of the West. Uh, Going into this, I had never seen this one either. Going into this remake, what did you think?
Well, like I said, I had little expectations. I was just like, it's a remake. You know, I you know, I went in with low expectations, let's put it that
Mhm.
way.
Okay.
And I was like I said, I was pleasantly surprised. I really was. I was like, "Oh, man, whatever." But then I was like, "Okay, okay, okay." Like, I was, like, getting more and more into it, there was a couple things where I was just like, "Okay, well, that's dumb," like, when they're gathering the team, I'm like, whatever," but let's keep on trudging, and then I feel like it definitely got better once. Okay, first off, let me just say, I felt sorry for the entire cast because anytime Vincent D'Onofrio showed up, he stole the fucking scene.
Yeah. I forgot. I totally forgot that the cast of this remake is so stacked that even Vincent D'Onofrio is here stealing the show.
Like, that's what I'm saying, like, I was like, even De he even stole it from Denzel, and Denzel's a charming ass motherfucker,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
like and then Vincent D'Onofrio shows up, and he's like, "Nope, this is my show now," and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Boy, dude, like, he is bringing his game," and
I
I was
wish he
like,
was in more of the movie. He's only in
"I
a few scenes.
know." Like, but at each scene he's in, he stole that shit. Like,
Mhm.
he owned the screen. And I
Yeah.
was like, "You go, boy, you go."
I love
I
how they went out of their way to get Chris Pratt into this movie because he was big because of Marvel stuff, and then
mm,
Vincent D'Onofrio, who hadn't been in Daredevil at that point, he just steals the whole movie from everybody.
mhm,
Oh man, God, it's great. Yeah, I was also surprised by this. I mean I saw the box office on this, and it cost between 90 and 107 million. I'm guessing that's for reshoots and pickups, and it only made 162 million at the box office, so it probably only broke even after marketing. I was like, okay, I could probably skip that one. But then I watched it. I'm like, why did I sit on this? This was good. This is
yeah.
pretty damn good. I was very, very surprised. Um, Also, Denzel Washington's character is based on a character named what the hell is his name? Bass Reeves. He's based very much on Bass Reeves, who was an actual African American Western lawman. So the diversity of the cast, it's not just there for the sake of, oh, we're shoving in diverse characters. It's
Mhm,
there because this is how it was. Like, you
right.
had Asians coming over from China that would assist on railroad production. You had Native Americans in the area because the Western expansion, America was moving further west. African Americans that had escaped slavery in the South, they had worked on becoming lawmen. They were policing the Western regions. Like, it made sense. It makes sense
I'm
to
sorry.
update this cast.
I'm sorry. All of a sudden, when you said that, I just, thought of Mel Brooks's, like, Robin Hood Men in Tights, and they're like, "A black sheriff," and they're like, "Yeah, it worked in Blazing Saddles."
Oh god. Yo, where the white women at? Mm,
Oh,
yeah. It was real. It was absolutely real. And also the thing that saved the West, prostitutes. If you don't know this story, look it up. It's absolutely true. Prostitution is what saved the American West. Long
it
involved story. There's books written about this. It's a long involved story. Uh,
magical vaginas.
yeah, basically kept all the guys from killing each other because everybody was so pent up. So if there's a couple of things I noted when I was watching the remake. Let me pull up my notes here real quick. Come on, you can do it.
I believe in you.
There it is. A couple notes. Even though it's visually good looking, I felt it was sometimes visually too dark. Sometimes you notice this? It looked a little dark sometimes.
In certain scenes, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, it wasn't too much of a drawback for me to, like, really take note, though.
Hmm.
Um, but then again, when I watch my movies now, it's in my room with blackout curtains in the dark, so, like, it's
Doesn't
a
really register.
right, it's a bit brighter for me, like, where if I was, like, watching it in pure sunlight in my living room, then I think it would register more, so
Yeah. Yeah. Something that absolutely did register for me in the remake is the score. It totally stands out. It's totally fresh and unique. And this is a significant film because this is actually the last film that was orchestrated um, and scored by James Horner before his plane crash. So this is the last
Mm,
film he did before he passed away. That's why there's a secondary composer on this film because I think he died mid production on this film, and yeah, so they had to bring in another person to co-compose the score afterwards. Yeah, so yep, died before filming could commence. So he was writing the score, and another person was brought in to finish it up.
damn.
Yeah, it sucks. They do include the Elmer Bernstein 1960s film theme, though, which I don't think works here. I don't think that
I
one
think
works
that
in
was
this
just
one.
more of like a nod too than a,
Yeah,
because they did pull some lines from the original as well. Like, oh, I've been paid a lot for my services, but not everything. Like that was in both films, and
yeah,
so I think that was just like another nod.
yeah. I do like in the original film where um, Steve McQueen he's telling the story about some guy he knew jumped into a cactus, and he was kind of, and it's like, what was he thinking? He says, well, it sounded like a good idea at the time. So I was like, oh, that's cute. I'm gonna steal that for something. So but yeah, the other issue I had, there's some not so great CGI in this remake. Yeah, there's some horses don't look quite right. There's some explosions don't look quite right. And also the final shot of this movie is all CGI for some reason.
That's probably just budgetary,
Uh,
feel.
I feel like that last shot was a last minute addition of like, yeah, we
Yeah.
need the shot of the four graves because they don't. The original film, they look at the four graves before they leave, which is also from
Mhm.
the original Seven Samurai film. They're like, oh shit, we forgot to get the grave scene. So fuck it, we've lost the cast. Chris Pratt's going off to do Guardians 2. We just have to do it in CGI. Like it's So I guess that's probably what it was. It's like, oh, it's an oh shit, we forgot moment. So CGI, it's all good.
Yeah,
So it's
it's
fine.
at least it was, like, at the end of the film, so it was, like, quick and over, you know?
But it's the last image you see when
I
you walk out of the
know,
theater.
I know, I know. I'm trying to think of it a silver lining at least,
Eh,
but
at least it's only 20 seconds.
yeah.
I'll say that. Yeah. But like we said, there's also a lot of happenstance that occurs in this remake. Also, can I ask? I have a serious question here.
Sure.
Eh, Peter, is it Sarsgaard? Not Skarsgård? It's Sarsgaard. Um,
Skarsgård, yes.
yeah, this was a joke on Saturday Night Live. Go look that one up. So Peter Sarsgaard is the villain in this one, and he plays a great villain
Oh, I
because he,
love that actor. I
yeah,
love him so much,
I
and
mean, he just looks evil.
everything he does, good or bad, like,
Yeah, it's
I've loved his work.
one of the decent parts of that Green Lantern movie. But my question is, so he comes into town because he wants to raise the prices of land on all the people to push all the people out of town, and then just take it for himself. But at the very end of the movie, he has all army show up just to kill everybody. Why did you just do that before?
My only thing I could think of is if he can, like, get any extra money out of them. You know,
But if you,
if they have money in the banks, they have to get it out of the bank, they can't just, like, straight up I don't know.
it
I
felt a little strange. I guess the simple answer is this: because the movie needs to happen.
yeah.
That's the purest example of like we need to create an excuse that's not the same as the original film of bandits running into town because it's
That's gonna be my best guess, though, is, like, he tried to strong arm them into, like, more as much money as possible before, because he was like, "I'll give $20 to anybody who leaves," and it's like, "Our land's worth more," and he's like, "Alright, well, maybe I can get some money out of you before
well now you got to
you're
pay
dead."
$30 for your
Before
land. It's like just to stay on your property. It's like, but then he just shows up and just wants to kill everybody anyways. He could have just taken all the money. It's like I really think it's just because they needed an excuse that was not the same as the original.
well,
So
no, he was going to pay them $20
oh, pay
each.
them $20 each to leave. Okay.
So, he was like, "I'm gonna pay you for your land," and they were like, "No, our land is worth more." And he's like, Not to me, it's not.
Yeah.
So,
Eh, I mean, it does feel a little odd. I mean, that was one of the big criticisms of the film is that sometimes the script and the writing was not the strongest. Some dialogue feels good, some dialogue not great.
"You
Some
speak
dialogue is
English? Well, shit, I got stuff to talk to you about."
yeah, that one's like just now he happens to speak English. All right, okay,
I think the only good part is, like, D'Onofrio's, like,
reaction.
reaction to that because I was like, "Oh, D'Onofrio," 'cause I just got more D'Onofrio.
Yeah, yeah. It also is strange that Ethan Hawke's character, who perfectly fits into a western, he doesn't really know he can't commit to shooting people, and then just out of nowhere, he just snaps out of it. There's no catalyst for him to change.
I I think because he had PTSD,
Hmm.
and he's like, "I can't do this, can't do this," but then I think the more he thought about it, like, coming in a psychological thing, like, it's it is, like, a rock and a hard place, like, I know I've been put into situations where I'm like, "I don't wanna do this, I don't wanna do this," and then, like, "Okay, I have to do this for the sake of other people," so it's like, yeah, it's not something I wanna do, but I'll do it for the sake of these people. Because I think once he because he comes back when he, like, sees the Gatling gun and all that, and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
shit, they're really in trouble now." He was
yeah,
like, "Before, they could probably do without," but he's like, "Okay, they're really in trouble, like, I don't want to relive this fully." So then that's when he's like, "Okay, let's go," you know?
yeah,
'Cause I get that, like, anybody 'cause he obviously, like, fought in, like, wars and everything, like, it's PTSD, it's pure PTSD, you don't wanna relive that. Like, at first, he was like, "Oh, the pay, the pay, the pay," just like the original character that he's based off of in the original film was like, "Oh, there's a gold mine. Oh, we gotta get the silver. Oh, da 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 da." So, that was his thing, was like, "Oh, the pay, and I can just have my boy Billy do all the work." But
yeah.
then he's like, "Oh, shit, like, I actually have to work now. I can't do this." And
Hmm.
then and then he's like, "No, I have to do this." There's a difference between want and have, and I think that was, like, this it's not I'm coming at this from, like, my experience psychological standpoint,
No, I get it. Yeah.
it's not explicitly stated either, but that's how I'm breaking it down.
No, I get it. I get it. Yeah, I mean, they do try to delve more into psychology in the remake. They do try to because they bring up a lot of elements of the Civil War. They bring up Antietam, which was one of the most brutal battles of the American Civil War. They do
Mhm.
bring up those issues, and I do think that there is great stuff that's in there. I just do think the writing could have been a little stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the action scenes, I mean, the final assault on the town is incredible. It was, I mean,
Oh, it's great.
yeah, I'll never fault Antoine Fuqua for action scenes. There's also a reunion of Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke because they were in Training Day together, also
Yeah.
directed by Antoine Fuqua. Yeah, if you've never seen Training Day, go watch Training Day. It's really good. It shows that corrupt cops are all bastards, and eventually you'll become one if you don't quit. So, yeah, fuck cops. Um, yeah, it's the action scene at the end. I do think that maybe it's a little over the top. It goes because there's one part where you see the entire army of guys up on the ridge line. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, that's a decent amount of people. More guys just randomly keep spawning into existence. It's like a game that's just broken. It's like, where the fuck did these people come from? Like, they just keep showing up. It just like it kind of remind like in even the first fight that happens in the town where they kill off 22 separate guys. Even that felt like, all right, this
That's
is
a
a
lot.
little. It's a lot. It's a little too much. But I guess they had to just like the problem with doing a remake of the original film is that you have to just kind of up the numbers. It's like if it
Right.
was two people in the first one, it has to be six this time. Like you have to just bump the numbers up. So I kind of get it from a development standpoint.
And also, like, eh, back then, it was easier to please crowds, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Today, the original is very tame. Very tame. It's almost nearly bloodless. There is blood, but it's very minimal. There's
Right.
no headshots. Whereas the, this remake, like Chris Pratt gets shot how many times and then blows himself up with dynamite? It's like- I will say that was pretty awesome. That was pretty great. And now that we know that Chris Pratt's a huge dick, it felt pretty good. It felt pretty good. Thank you. Um, it- Also, the runtime of these two movies, they're about the same.
They're
The
neck and
original,
neck. Yeah.
yeah, about a good 2 hours. I do still think that the original drags a little bit at the end when Denzel is kind of
You mean the
taunting,
remake?
or the remake. I'm sorry, the remake where Denzel Washington is taunting Peter Sarsgaard in the church. I was like, you could have just shot him. I really don't
It,
need to do any of that stuff.
and it would be another thing if they like built it up a bit more, other than the one line where he's like, "Oh, it's about the same age your sister would be." That's the
Yeah,
only backstory we get. It'd be different if we like had more build up to his backstory, but
yeah. Exposition, catalyst, and ending of story happen in literally the same scene in the church. Like, oh, these
mhm.
people just happen to have a big history with each other. There was never a scene prior to that where Denzel Washington ever talked about that. It's like,
Right, and before it was literally he knew his name because of the like, the stir he was causing in other towns, like,
yeah,
that's what it seemed like. "Oh, I know him because he's been causing chaos everywhere. Let me
yeah.
help you." Not, "Oh, he killed my family. You have to die." Like
Yeah, the revenge angle I don't think quite works because it's not built up. That's why I think that's one place the original I think is a little bit superior is that it's just about guys defending a town because they it's just the right thing to do. Just having good characters, just like good people. It's so
mhm.
rare these days. Today, it's considered questionable if somebody just does anything just like genuinely right, just because it's right. I know that we're probably super cynical at this point with regards to that, but
'Cause well, and nowadays it's like, "Okay, you did this for me. What's your angle? What did you want?" It's like, "No, just trying to be nice."
yeah, we're at that point where everybody has a bit of an angle to whatever it is that happens. So, but overall, I think that the original nails it a little bit better because Eli Wallach, he is a scumbag, but I do wish he was more of a scumbag. I I do wish he was more menacing and more vile because he just kind of comes into town, just kind of like, okay, just give me your food, give me your stuff, and then I'll go on my way. If he just like taken like all the women and kids and then just left everybody else, I would be like, okay,
Mhm.
awful person, get rid of this guy. That's the one thing they could have improved on, but I'm guessing that's because of the Hays Code in the 1960s. It was just you couldn't do that on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you could somehow merge these two films together, just like make the perfect combination, nailed it. Nailed it. This from that and that one from that. Perfect. Perfect. So the original is genuinely great. It's lean, straightforward to the point. The remake, it's a little bit fluffier in terms of its character development, its exposition. Also, Vincent D'Onofrio's introduction in the movie, probably the best introduction.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Fucking axe just comes out of nowhere.
"He took my horse!"
Hit me over the head with a rock.
Like I said, I felt so bad for everyone because he stole the show.
Hmm.
Like, he steals the show. I love him so much in this, like, because I saw him, I was looking up the movie and I see him, like, in the cast. I was like and he's, like, one of the last people to show up in the 7, and I was like, "Okay, but where's Vincent? Where's
Yep.
Vincent?" Bam! And I was like, "My man."
I do think that they did underutilize that character because his character is meant to be a hunter. He's a tracker. He
Yeah,
doesn't hunt or track anybody. Why is he needed?
because it's Vincent fucking
Yeah, it's
D'Onofrio,
because it's
that's
Vincent
why.
D'Onofrio. I was like, yeah, okay. That's the one thing I do think they did underutilize him a little bit. They could have beefed up his character a little bit. Same thing with the Native American character, who I can't even remember his name. What was the character's name? Red Harvest. Um, Exiled Comanche warrior and the youngest of the seven. I would have loved some level of backstory, like why is he exiled? Something.
Yeah.
just kind of shows up. You get one Deus Ex Machina in every story. This one kind of asks for a couple. So writing wise, the remake is a little bit funky. Not
Yeah,
great.
I'm trying to look up like what. Okay, he was in a couple episodes of Yellowstone. I'm looking up what the actor did. Okay, he was in Westworld and um Yellowstone and
Mhm.
but actually Magnificent Seven was like his first like big thing.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I can't fault it. I'm not faulting the actor or anything. I'm just faulting
No,
the writing of the
I'm just
character.
saying I'm shocked that that was his first big thing, which is, I mean, good for him. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, good for him. Yeah.
Oh, he was in Wind River.
Oh, I love Wind River. That's right. Okay, yeah, Wind River's great.
Same thing. He was in Westworld and Yellowstone. So like he's getting.
Oh, he was in 1883 as well. The prequel series to
Mm,
Yellowstone. That show is fucking great. 1883. You can watch that independent of Yellowstone and be like, "Oh, this is awesome." It's about the history of the Dutton family and how they moved out along the Oregon Trail. You
mhm,
can watch it independent of Yellowstone and be like, "Oh, this is a great little 8 episode miniseries. This is fantastic."
mhm.
I've never watched a single episode of Yellowstone. I've seen 1883 and I loved it, even though I think that Taylor Sheridan is a horrible prick. So, but yeah,
Good for him.
I think the reason the remake failed is because it's just westerns just aren't a big thing anymore. It's
I
just
think that's it because when
unless
I
it's made
talk
by Quentin Tarantino, you know.
when I talk to people, I'm not gonna lie. When if I mention a western, the people whose eyes and ears perk up, it's older white men.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
like if I mention a western to somebody else, they're like, "Okay, sure." You know. Um the closest western, like modern western that I love was is a Korean film called The Good, the Bad, and the Weird.
Oh yeah.
Um
I know of it. I've never seen it.
oh, it's so good. But like that's the kind of, and it's a Korean film. It's not American, it's a Korean film.
So you're guaranteed a level of quality there.
Yeah, and but that's, like, the closest what like, modern Western, and that was back in 2008,
Yeah.
Like, it's not it's not the same type of genre it is anymore,
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's a dying genre.
we
It
still
is.
have some every now and again. We still, I mean, obviously with with Taylor Sheridan with his TV shows, we still get those as westerns. I mean, we did get Django Unchained, and we got Hateful Eight. There's been. Let me look up
Which,
modern
funny
westerns.
enough, the guy who played Billy Rocks was also in The Good, the Bad, and the Weird.
Nice.
Yeah,
Modern western
Lee
films.
Bung-hun, he was in both. So,
Okay.
s
All right, so modern Western films. Let's look up Power of the Dog. That came out a few years back. Brokeback Mountain, Tombstone, Django Unchained, True Grit. The remake of True Grit. We covered that before.
mm.
Hell or High Water is fantastic.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, never mind. I was gonna say that, but you just mentioned Power of the Dog.
Cry Macho, which is
Clint
Clint
Eastwood.
Eastwood. I heard it was okay. I'm just tired of Clint Eastwood. I
Bro,
just
retire. I love you. You've done your job. Retire.
oh my god, have you seen photos of him recently? He looks like the Crypt Keeper.
Dude, I like I said, I love him so much, but just take a seat, buddy.
I'll ignore the fact you voted for Trump if you just retire, dude. I'll ignore it if you just please just retire, dude. But yeah, there's still modern westerns. We still do get them. They are just not very prevalent. Justified is technically a western, kind of. It's a neo modern western. We still get that, but like classic westerns, they don't
Mhm.
come around very much anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is a niche genre at this point. That's what happens when you flood and overflow the market. When it's just like there were so many westerns in the 60s and 70s. Oh my god, there was so many. Like the list, I saw a list one time, and it was like 300 movies, and I'm like, oh my god. And that's where we're at with superhero movies. Like
Yeah.
we're in that phase where it's like we're at like what 80, 90 movies at this point, and it's like it's still going. It's still going. We're going to reach that point where critical mass is going to catch up, and everyone's going to be like, Okay, well, we're done with that. Moving
It's
on to the
not even
next
just the
thing.
movies, it's TV shows too, like
Movies and TV shows. I mean, Arrowverse wrapped up a while back, and there was so many things on that. It's just it's so much. Yeah, it's every genre runs its course, and I think if Magnificent Seven, the remake, had come out 10 years earlier, if it was released um a couple of weeks after Django Unchained, it probably would have done a lot better. If it had
'cause it
had
would be
that,
like in tandem double feature,
it would be in
like
tandem with that. It would do a lot better. I think the problem is that it just came out at a really bad time. Yeah, because Django Unchained came out in 2009. This came out in 2016. If it came out just, there's just like 7 years earlier, it would have done much better. So, oh well. Too late now. But yeah, both these films, great. The original film, lean, mean, to the bone, straightforward. The remake, it's good. It's surprisingly good.
yeah.
I'm very surprised by it. Both of us were surprised by it. It's problematic at some points. The writing's not great.
But this has been one of the few episodes where I'm like, "Yes, watch both." Like,
Yeah,
usually both of us will lean, like, one or the other, but, like, this
yeah,
one, like, double feature this. Do it. Go for it.
yeah. I needed a really, really good one. I needed a really good set of movies. And I was like, yep, let's go with that because we couldn't do Bangkok Dangerous. And so I said, you know what? Let's just pick two good ones that I know are probably going to be good.
Yeah.
Even, because critically the remake, the remake lands, God, what does it land at? 64% on Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, fuck off. No,
No, it's better than that.
I give it like 75, 80%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not
it's
like A plus or anything, but it's better than that.
Yeah, again, Rotten Tomatoes sometimes is not the greatest way to judge a film. It's an aggregator. It's an aggregator of reviews. Doesn't mean that those reviews necessarily reflect all the quality of the film. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, remake. I'd say it's worth your time. They're both the same length, 2 hours. Double feature them if you want to. It's a rainy
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon. Double feature them. Go for it.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna go into our next film. We're going into horror. This is gonna make Hope happy. Child's Play. We're talking about Child's Play because I've never seen the remake. That one with the weird robot thing. I've never seen it.
Hey, hey. It's Mark Hamill.
I know Mark Hamill does the voice. I'm aware of that, but I heard nothing but negative things. So I'm gonna go in and
And Aubrey
judge.
Plaza.
And Aubrey Plaza
My
playing the
waifu.
mom. Like, is she playing a mom or is she playing a sister?
She's the mom.
Isn't she like? She looks like she's 20.
Aubrey Plaza's like 40.
I know. I'm saying she looks like she's 20.
Hey,
It's like Tom Holland. He doesn't fucking age.
that's why she's my waifu.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, Child's Play, next episode. That series still continues to go to this very day.
Mhm.
It's still going. Just they're not even scary anymore. I think I watched an episode of the TV show and I was like, is this supposed to be scary? Because I'm laughing more than I am scared. This is kind of silly.
That's kind of how it is, though.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll discuss that in 2 weeks. We'll discuss that. Thank you, Hope, for jumping on this one. I'm
Of
glad you
course.
enjoyed these two westerns.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I only watch them with you. So,
Well, at least you enjoyed them. So
yeah, true.
yeah. I mean, I could make you watch something really terrible. So
I'm gonna leave now.
okay. With that, good night.
Good night.